Welcome to the Uptiquing Painting and Ceramics Sunflower Cutout. We have this cute little cutout. It's about, I think, 20 inches wide. We are going to paint this together. So you have two cutouts on here. One is a welcome and one is a sunflower. If you'd like, you could paint this. It comes with your kit and glue it on there. If not, you could leave it just like it is. In your kit, you have the two cutouts. You have paints in little containers, and you have brushes, a large brush and a pointed brush. You also will need some paper towels and a cup of water, and you have a paper palette that came in there, so you're going to dispense some of your paints on there, and we're going to get ready. So the first thing we're going to do is coat the whole sunflower with white so that the colors that go on top of it are more vibrant. If we were to paint the colors right on the yellow, paint the yellow right on the cutout, it would appear a little muted. If you want a more muted sunflower, then just skip this step. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a little bit of white and our large brush, and we're going to paint in the shape and the contour of the leaves. So really light coats. You don't need to really cake this on. Feather it out. And you're going to kind of go to that middle. Okay. So we're going to go all the way around. We have the one. You don't have to worry about the edges on this step. So we're going to keep going. If you find that that paint is a little stiff, just add a little bit of water to it to help it, a little tiny bit, to help it glide. Okay. So I have that second one. You can see I'm kind of meeting that center. If you need to turn your cutout as you're going so that you have a natural wrist reaction or natural, you're not forcing the stroke, you can do that as you go around because it's circular. So I have that second one, just kind of, if you get anything in those little sharp corners there, just kind of get it out so that when you go to blow dry it, it doesn't take a long time. As long as the paint is thin, it will dry really quickly. So here we go. Coming around. And you know, I'm not really going too crazy with this. The yellow is going to go over top of it. I'm just adding, my white is a little bit thick, so I'm just adding a tiny little bit of water to kind of thin it out so it glides a little bit better. I wasn't really happy with the way it was moving. Turning it again. Oh, went too far. Back on there. Add a little bit more white. And make my shape. And then kind of fill it in. It's kind of like two parentheses that touch at the top and the bottom. Alrighty, next one. Down the home stretch here. Make your shape, and then fill it in. All right, give it one more turn. And again, if you go really light, it will dry pretty fast. There's no need to really cake this on. The more layers that you put on, the thicker the paint is going to, the paint is going to look, and you really don't want it too caked up. So just gonna make our circle here, our circles. And my last turn. Make sure you get in those little crevices there. Alright, so this is my last one. I have my shape there. I'm going to put my paintbrush in the water, and you're going to kind of make a milkshake out of it, get that really clean. You can even take a run to the sink if you want. All right, so I am going to now dry this with a hairdryer. So if you are not wanting this to take a long time and you want to speed the steps up in between, you can use a hair dryer. If you're just relaxing, then you can just let it dry. You can pause the video and then come back when it's nice and dry and ready to paint. We want our white to be dry so that anything that goes on top of it will be painted on top and will not blend. White into any color will make a pastel, and our sunflower is definitely not a pastel sunflower. It's nice and vibrant, so let's get that white dry. Alrighty, so the next step is we're going to make sure our brush is nice and dry, and we're going to move on to coating it with yellow. So we're going to do the same thing that we just did with the white, only now we're going to do it with yellow. So this will give us a nice base coat. So same thing, except yellow. So you're doing those half moons to the center again. You can make a little dot in the center if you want. And then just, it's not a lot of coverage. You want to see some of that stroking coming through it because it's going to make it easier to give our petals a little bit more life. And turn your cutout so that you have a nice friendly angle for your wrist. Keep turning. You'll see as you're doing this, you'll see your white strokes through there. You can even use that as a point of reference as to where you've been. And this time as you're going around, you can get all these edges, because if you're going to be hanging this, you'll want to see your edges yellow, same color as the actual flower. Okay. I'm not going to take the time to paint them. It is a little time consuming. Just make sure that you get in all those little grooves. You'll definitely want to do your edges before the next step if you are going to paint them. Okay, so you can see how nice and vibrant our yellow looks. It's beautiful. Nice clean color. One here. So your white should not have blended in with this yellow because it's dry. It is sitting on top. You're going to go back and do all of your edges. You do not have to wash your brush. We're going to be pretty quick on this next step. I am going to blow dry this again. Again, if you are speeding up the process, you can pause the video and blow dry as well, or you can pause the video and let it dry on its own. So let me dry this. Alrighty, so we have one dry yellow sunflower. So now we're going to be adding some color into this. So the easiest way to do this is to add two colors to your brush. We're going to put yellow on one corner and we're going to put orange on the other. So what that'll do is the bristles will blend the colors together. You do not want to blend too much because it will become one. If you want to see a little bit of difference between the orange and the yellow, you'll just do a couple of little strokes until it's smoothed and it's gradated from one color to the next. Otherwise, if you want harsher colors, just don't blend them in as much. So let's get to this and it'll kind of make a little bit more sense. So we have yellow on our brush right now. I'll take some of it off the top there. We're going to put yellow on one corner right here. And I'm going to put orange on this corner. Okay, so I have two colors on my brush. Now what we're going to do is, and at first it'll look really different than what's going on, and these do look different, see? So we're gonna add that warmth into it right now. So here we go. So don't, if you put too much orange on it, don't panic. Keep going with what you're doing here. Then just add some yellow. We're not blending with any white. We're gonna blend the colors together with yellow. If you want to, you can add a little brown into this, a tiny little bit. Brown gets brown fast, so you don't wanna muddy it up too much. So we're gonna keep going petal by petal. You're staying with that pointy parentheses at the top and the bottom, okay? And still going into that circle, that middle. So I'm, again, starting with the orange and the yellow. And they both, each petal shouldn't look exactly the same. You know, you want them to look like they're layered on top of one another and not 100% uniform. Okay, so you can see that it's starting to look like the finished piece. If you want it to be more orange, this is where you can kind of use your own artistic licensing and do, you know, however you want your flower to look. If you want it to be all yellow, you can just paint yellow again. I will show you what the brown looks like on one of these petals. So let me get some color in this one. So I'm just gonna take the tiniest, tiny, tinier than that, little bit of brown. So you can see how dark that gets. So what you wanna do is grab some yellow and have that smooth it, blend it out, okay? So it's not so harsh. So I'm gonna go back to my orange and my yellow for my next petal. And I'm just working my way around again. So I'm gonna put a little orange to this side right here. One brown in because I don't have any brown in the other ones. Okay, and I'm just, you know, moving that cutout around so that I have a nice arch for my wrist. And I'm making my shape. And don't worry about what that center looks like because that big brown center is going to cover that. Okay. A little bit more orange there. And I'm going to circle to the next one. A little yellow, a little orange. Make my shape. If you feel like it's dragging, it's because you need more paint on your brush. And if you did a good job covering those edges with the yellow, you really don't have to go back and do it with these colors. The yellow that you put on there should blend well enough, unless you feel like it. So I'm gonna put that orange. Grab a little bit more yellow. And you can see it's starting to really take shape now. To keep adding that brown in if that was your choice. Two more to go. Last one. So I have all my petals finished. Now I am going to wash my brush in here, or you can wash it out in the sink. Just make some chocolate milk on the bottom there. Try and get it as clean as you can. Tap it off on the top, and then you want to squeeze your brush dry. You don't have to scrub it. That'll ruin your bristles. Just make sure you squeeze it. Get all the water out, and then you're ready to use it on the next run. So I'm going to blow dry again because I want that brown circle. So you can see, that looks great. I want that brown circle to sit on top. So I am going to dry it. So you can pause your video. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our pointed brush and we're going to give ourselves some points of reference. So keep in mind that when you perfect a shape, it naturally becomes larger. So we're going to just kind of eyeball it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's handmade. You're going to eyeball the center. So say that's the center. We're going to put a dot there of brown. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give ourselves 2 more dots, top and bottom, and then 2 more side to side. So this is the center, and then this is going to be our circle. So using that pointed brush, we're going to kind of just map out our circle. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? And then after you're done with that, just wash it in the water and squeeze dry it again. Okay, got a nice point back. So I like to use the big brush to draw circles. You're going to use it not flat, not like you're whitewashing a fence, but you're perpendicular on the long end. So you have a leading end and a trailing end of the brush. You're going to dip it in the brown, and you're going to make your circle. Go halfway because your wrist can't go all the way the other way. It's uncomfortable. So then we're going to give it the other half. And then we're going to fill it in. Don't go left to right, go around, because it is a round circle, right? Don't worry if you see some of the yellow through it. It kind of adds to it a little. You can always fill it in later, but you can't take away. Okay, so that's what I have so far. So the sample is a lot larger. So if you're not happy, if you say, oh, you know, this is a little bit high, a little bit low, you can go ahead and change that up. So you want to make it gradually a little bit bigger because the sunflower center is pretty large. So just kind of work your way a little bit at a time to the size that you want. Don't go really big right out of the gate because you will definitely not like your end project. I'm going to go a little bit bigger. Step back. Go a little bigger on this side. Don't forget at any time you can pause the video to work on your masterpiece. Alrighty, so I think I'm going to leave mine that big right now. So I'm going to fill the center in just a little bit more. Okay. I like some of that yellow coming through it. If you want, you can add a tiny little bit of black. Black goes black fast. So you want to work while your brown is wet, so you can kind of blend it in there a little bit. Or you don't have to put the black in, totally up to you. Okay, so we are done with this big brush. We're going to put in your water. You can save your brushes from project to project, so give them a good washing after this with a little soap. And make sure you squeeze dry them back into shape. All right, so I'm just gonna put mine on the table here for a little bit. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, giving this a little bit of time to dry, we are going to start working with the black. So we're gonna do our black accents first, because if we do white accents first and we don't wash our brush well enough, then when we go to use the black, we're gonna end up with gray. So we're gonna start with the black, and you have your pointed brush, and we're just gonna do some accents. So they're like little flicks. They start from the center, right on the edge of that brown, and they kind of flick out. And when you are finishing the stroke, kind of just lift your brush a little bit. They all don't have to be the same. If you're running out of paint, go back in and reload. And don't forget, if you want to stop the video, you can pause the video. All right, and then around the sides of it, we have just, you know, it doesn't have to line up, so don't make yourself nuts. It can go right on the edge, and it can come in a little bit if you want. Okay, and then we have one over here. So there's 3. If you want to put 3, you can put 3. If you want to put less, you can put less. Okay, then in the middle, we have this kind of like quilted pattern. And you can see the lines. I'll come up a little closer. The lines are not finished. They're kind of, they start and then they stop. They're a little random. So if you want to do this part, you can. If you want to leave it like this, you can leave it like that. So it's just, I'm kind of twirling the brush as I do it with my hands back and forth, you know, rocking it, and lifting my hand as I'm doing it, so that there's a little bit of inconsistency. And then I'm going to go the other way, crossing only some of them. Okay, looks good. So now we're going to wash our brush. Really good. And we're going to squeeze dry. And this will be our last step for this part. All right, so now we're going to go with the white. We're going to kind of do the same thing we did. We're going to start out and then flick up as we're ending it, so that we have a little bit of a tail. Alrighty, so I'm going to go with the contour of my wrist. Oops. And if you want to turn your board so it's comfortable for you. All right, and then we have a couple little accents of white within the shape of the quilting pattern that we have. So I have less white in there than I do the black, because I didn't want the eye to be too distracted when I put that on there, but it does need a little bit in there. So I'm gonna go maybe right here. I'm trying to keep it kind of even. And then I'm gonna cross over in here. Okay, so we are done with our flower. So when you have the welcome sign in there, it's the same, it's that brown color. I've already painted this one, but you're going to light coat paint it. So when the first coat that you have going through on here, you will definitely see, just like when we did this, you will see some of the brown coming through. Don't panic. Let it dry. You're going to go all around the edges. If you get in, when you're doing the edges, if you get any clumps on the front, just smooth them out. So you want to, patience pays. light coats going on. This is only 2 coats of paint on the front and only 1 coat on the sides. So it does take a little bit. Your hands will get a little bit full of paint. Don't worry about it. It comes off. And then after you're done, once this is dry, the back is dry, so that you're not going to smear any on here, and this is dry, then you can glue it on. We either gave you a glue gun or some E6000 glue in there, and if you happen to have lost it, you could always use a little bit of wood glue. So you can either put it on straight, or you can put it on an angle. Mine is on an angle. It's symmetrical, so kind of usually the way you paint it is the way you'd hang it, just because of the way your eye sees things, but it's totally up to you. The other thing, if you wanted to do, if you made it so that one point was at the top, you could drill a hole in here and a hole in here, and you could put a cute little rope on there, some jute with a bow, so you could really dress it up if you wanted to, or you could just leave it. So thank you for our painting cutout. You can follow us on YouTube, subscribe, like us, share us. You can see all of our videos online as well at uptiquing.com, and our store is at 61 Main Street in Pine Bush, and we're at 845-744-4400. Thank you. Bye.